Hey, what's happening? This is TC Carson, and you are listening to ACMG's Talk Time Live. And this is Kratos. Keep listening.
Welcome to the show to give you all the news, views, and opinions in the world of gaming. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live Extras Select Start with your host, Xavier Josiah. Power up and game on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. Folks, there is way too much going on in this world. Happy 2019, happy Black History Month. Too much going on right now. And it's just a lot to talk about this week, in particular Sunday, which I'll be addressing. Of course, the Vic Mignogna situation has come up and sprouted up and spread like wildfire. More than ever now. So we're going to address that definitely on Sunday. I just want to let you know that, yeah, I've known about it recently. I've looked into it further. I've spoke to many people of different variety types, inner circle and outer circle. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you my actual take on the situation as much as I could do, because at the end of the day, my opinion is my opinion, but it's no more valuable than anybody else's opinion or judgment of the situation. At the end of the day, it's to those involved. But, you know, he's been on our show. He's been a very nice guy on to us here at Talk Time Live. And we're just going to, say what needs to be said. So that will be addressed on Sunday. So stay tuned if you want to hear about that and everything that I've pretty much dug up and some of the things that I've heard. We're going to get that out of the way. We're going to talk about that definitely, but it's not going to be dismissed by any stretch, nor should it be dismissed. So we're going to definitely talk about that this Sunday on the Talk Time Live Prime show. So stay tuned for that and more. But right now, we're here to talk video games as always, so we're going to do so. We got a little bit of news to talk about there, and as well as our review of Dragon Mark for Death, the latest Inti Creates action RPG side-scroller that is a really interesting take on some old classics. So we're going to talk about that soon enough. But let's not waste any time. Let's talk about some news that has been going on around in the industry of video games, such as, excuse me, PlayStation 5. Honestly, I'm not ready for a PlayStation 5. I'm not in the mood for a PlayStation 5. I don't know what they can do at this point in time to really advance in what we already have now. I mean, resolution-wise, we're at the peak of where we're at. Even at some point, there's been sayings from people from Sony that were at first they were saying that we're not going to do it. There's no point of doing it. And now they're talking about doing it a PS5. But if you're going to do it, you got to give us some bells and whistles that really wants us to take our money at this point. They may have done it because there are rumors out right now. It's just rumors at the moment, and wishful thinking from a lot of us gamers and fans of this product. Something that we've been asking for quite some time, and that being backwards compatibility. Something that we've wanted all the way back. Dating back to the PlayStation 2 era. I mean, can you think about that? You really think about how far along a way that we've been waiting for that whole entire thing. Something that we felt that they could do a long time ago, and they did during the PlayStation 3 era, the first generation. You were able to play PlayStation 2 games. I know because my brother-in-law actually owns the original version of the PlayStation 3, where you can actually play PlayStation 2 games. They did it before, but they did a huge recall because some of the parts, the chips or whatever, the motherboard or whatever they were using, were something that could be created into something a little bit more lethal. And if you go back into that era, there was something, I forgot what it was, but I knew that it was a major recall back of the first models, and they had to take a chip or two out because it was leading to something that people can actually take out, reverse engineer it, take it out, and use it for, and weaponize, use it for more weaponizing type of, situations, which was crazy. But It just so happens to be the same components that you would need to be able to use backwards compatibility. That was the situation at the time. We got years later coming, and it looks like, Xbox comes out with their own backwards compatibility finally. They were able to do that, so that was awesome. And now they're finding other ways to bring back backwards compatibility. Maybe not from a physical form, but maybe a digital form, because we've gotten some, games that we had played in years. Well, look, I just recently played Unimusha, the original Unimusha, way back in the PlayStation 2 era. So it's possible to bring all these back, and I wish they would, because a lot of these titles, these classic titles, should not be sitting on the shelf. Now, the funny thing about that, and I don't know if I mentioned this the last time we were on the show, because it's been quite a while since this show. I got a chance to do a show. So much is going on, including my trip to Washington, which I'll talk about on Sunday as well, if I remember. But it's funny, when it came to Unimusha, when the remake, if you remember, I did the review for that. Go online to the Capcom Facebook pages and whatnot. You gotta read. You actually gotta read some of the new kids, the millennials today, talk about that game as if it's a brand new game. And it's hilarious, because they don't realize that this is a remake of an old game, like a remastered, not a remake, a remaster of an old game, and that the graphics are a bit outdated, that it's not up to par with major games. They really think it's an absolutely new AAA game or something of that sort. And just thought it was hilarious just looking at that, and also sad, because it means that my generation is also outdated and getting old in this case. So they got to learn from the past, and really, I think it's time for, I got friends and people that I know in my neighborhood and such like that. Shout out to Adam Shube and Matt Papa, because they are huge retro gamers. DJ Cutman as well. Huge retro gamers. And what they are actually doing is preserving what we have in the past. And video games is a form of art, whether people think of it or not. It is a form of art. It is no different than of that of which you read in art history. This is another form of art history. And games like Unimusha, games like Super Mario, the original from Nintendo, any of those, the 8-bit era, the 6-bit era, the 32-bit era, those retro games are classics. And you got to find out, go back and what led us back to that point. I mean, I'm still saying enjoy what you got now, but appreciate what got us there. And it's funny, because no matter how young or old you are, it's inevitable that you wind up growing up to a point that you're saying something like that, where you're saying, well, you got to go back to the past to see what made it to this point now. It's inevitable. So if you're a millennial or a young person listening to this right now, I beg you to be ahead of the game and learn from the past. We used to do that too with music too and all the stuff. There was a time, especially in the 90s, where we started embracing, for hip-hop's sake, we started embracing the past music and implementing that in celebration of it into the new style, like funk and jazz and all that stuff. Artists like Gangstar and all those cats like that, and Redman and all them, would implement funk into their music as a way of celebrating it, as a way of paying homage to it. And I think that, we need to do that for video games too now. I mean, we need to really get the jump on that. So, but I digress. I would really love the PlayStation 5. If they're going to do this PlayStation 5, I don't care much about how far because I really can't fathom at this point how far they can go. I don't know what they need to do to get to this next level of gaming. And I don't want it to be VR. Because one, VR is not as successful as they wanted it to be. And we got to see exactly what happened when they had the PSVR. It wasn't successful. A lot of it, in my opinion, believes that it is also based on the fact that they don't promote and push their products hard enough. They have a history of not pushing their side products, ergo the PSP, the PSP Go, the joysticks that they had, the wands or something that they had. That was another thing, that gimmick. And and recently, let's not forget the PS Vita, by the way. And even recently, the PSVR. And when I saw that, I'm like, they're not going to back this up. They're not going to back this up at all. And it's not, we're barely going to see commercials about it. We're going to see like 1 or 2 games for it and such like that, but it's not going to get over. They're not going to get it over because they're not going to push it hard enough. They have a history of this. Now, if you look at what Nintendo has done for every single one of their game systems, with the exception of maybe the Virtual Boy and the Wii U, then maybe that will be, but majority, like the DS, the 3DS, the 2DS, constantly pushing them, constantly coming out with games for them, constantly supporting that product, and they are still making sales off of those products. But when it comes to when PlayStation's main console, which I believe they will heavily push, and that's all that they push, what's the point of even coming out with all these side gimmicks? I got 2 PS Vitas right now on my right side of my desk right now, my microphone and everything, just sitting and collecting dust because I have not played them in a while because they have not been played. Now, granted, I have a Japanese and American account. I have a PS Vita Slim and a PS Vita Original that I use one for Japanese and one for American, but I digress. They just, and that's not stressing Japan either. Japan does a little bit more different marketing than America. So they were still coming out with not only more games in Japan for the PS Vita, unbeknownst to many people who don't invest in imports, not only did they have different games, but they had, I can tell you, in my account, I have a huge library of games that has never seen face in America, let alone classic games. Like, I have Rival Schools 1 and 2 in my PS Vita. I got some really sick classic games on there, man. That's just one. And if anybody realizes that, like, Rival Schools 2 on the PlayStation 2 is in fact actually Project Justice. Just a more in-depth version of it. But it's really sad that they don't push the product enough. So we will see. Apparently, Sony has also registered a patent on a hardware that allows you to fully optimize and run old software. That is leading many to believe that it is in fact a backwards compatibility factor on here. So it's really insane how that's coming about. So we will see how that goes from there, and maybe we will get what we asked for this time. But as far as the evolution of the technology that you're using, I'm really interested in seeing how they're going to evolve what we have right now to what we're going to do. I am just looking forward to seeing that right now. So we'll see. Countdown to Mortal Kombat continues as NetherRealm had another video stream showing the release and reveal of Cabal. He's back, and I'm telling you, that character is better than ever. This game is going to be absolutely epic as all hell. Coming in April of this year, and we got a chance to see the gang. Ed Boon included was in there for a few segments and showing off what Cabal was going to be like, and they showing off some of his move sets with some familiar moves such as the dash attack. I know that's not the total name of the attack, but it's the infamous dash attack that we all love to do with him. That's pretty much a trademark, a signature move of his as well. He also they've added some new attacks such as gas attacks. Because if you guys have played him before, he has a move where it came out like a projectile in Mortal Kombat 3. Like it was a sort of an energy projectile, but in fact it was more like a gassy type of deal. But now we're in a more upgraded and evolved version of the game where you can actually see that it's gas. So he has different gas attacks, and these gas attacks do different things depending on what you do and what version of it that you customize. So if you pick a certain gas attack, it can in fact stabilize the person, giving them the inability to move at all, or some of it may poison the actual character for a bit, taking down of his energy or whatnot. There are different really cool things and different ways you can implement it as well. You can also do it in a way that if he jumps, it becomes sort of like a rocket pack, and it kind of elevates him in a bit. So as he descends, it actually, you can probably catch wind if you angle it the right way. It's really interesting how they put it together. So that's really cool. And I tell you what, then they go to his fatal blow attack, which is damn near a fatality, with his fatality being even worse than his fatal blow. Like, if you guys have gotten a chance to see it, if you haven't, they should have it up. You could go into NetherRealm's social media pages on Facebook and Twitch or whatever, and see what they've done. I think there may be a trailer out as well, but the fatal blow is so disgustingly brutal. It is brutal. Like, I don't understand. Like, that could be his fatality alone. Then the fatality just is like, you're putting salt in the wound, literally, in this case. It is, man, they're coming hard with this game, and I can't wait to get my hands on this. This is absolutely awesome, and this is not for the weak of heart. The other cool thing that they had for this game was they have, this is going to be like Injustice 2, where there's a lot of customizations and some other skins. One of the other skins, no pun intended, is Cabal with his skin intact. He's not the burnt version, so the non-burnt version of Cabal will be included in this as well. I don't know if he will be available off bat or will he be a DLC. I'm assuming that he will be a character that they will give you off bat. So we'll see about that, but you will be able to play as both versions, with or without the mask and respirator and such like that. So it is pretty cool, and I believe that version might have a different variation of the moves and everything too. So I'm looking forward to that. It was really awesome that they brought that on, and looks like this is just a countdown, and then so we're going to be seeing way more characters of that. Ed Boon did speak of a lot of the DLC characters that they're going to be announcing, and he hyped it up. He didn't say which ones that were coming, but he said when we find out who's going to be a part of this, it's going to blow us away. Yeah, I will be blown away when Spawn comes. Thank you very much, Ed. So if you could bring anybody else at this point, and I believe Batman may be one of them, and that's only because of Kevin Conroy's involvement in the game. I absolutely believe that Batman's going to be in there. That's my biggest prediction. I could be wrong. I have been wrong before. So I'm just looking forward to this. But I do believe Batman will be on it. I do want Spawn to be in there as well, because he's been highly asked for. And I don't see... this is a perfect opportunity. Any type of opportunity that gives Todd McFarlane a reason to promote and show his character, his child, to the world, he's not going to stop that. This is opportunity for him. He needs not to. So I don't see, if he was asked, I don't see Todd McFarlane, denying this opportunity. So we'll see on that note. They said more will be announced, in the coming days and weeks. So that's going to be a thing. They also showed more gameplay of Garrus, which in his role in Mortal Kombat 11. If you guys remember, if you saw the release gameplay reveal, they showed Garrus, which was like a kind of an Egyptian, I'm going to say Egyptian style character. He is of color, but I believe the descent is Egyptian. So he is, they talked about him more, and Garrus, believe it or not, will be considered the new Goro of this actual game, and that's awesome. Because there always is a Goro character in these games, and it looks like this guy is looking to be the most powerful of all of the, Goro-like characters before him. I really did forget the other two that was, taking the place of Goro after he died. But yeah, this is going to be really, really cool. I'm looking forward to it. I love the fact that he has the power of time and the sand, which is going to bring a different type of dynamic and gameplay for gamers as well, especially E-Leaguers. So it'll be interesting. A tournament's coming on E-League, so get ready for that to come soon. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do and how they do that. So we'll check it out soon. But yeah, NetherRealm, this is going to be, I think NetherRealm is going to be 2019 again for them. Whenever they come out with a game, more than likely that game gets highly rated and award winned. So I don't see any other fighters coming out right now that is going to be a big deal, or that, you know, because all right, we got, what is it, Dead or Alive 6, but nobody's getting hyped for Dead or Alive 6, and a lot of that stems from the fact that the last Dead or Alive 5, which was a fun game, which was cool, but they did a lot of stuff, man, in that game that left people questioning. For instance, the DLC was just who is paying? I really, really dare somebody to admit that they spent $100 on Dead or Alive DLC for their pervy outfits. I dare somebody to be open with it. You know what? I wouldn't agree with it, but much respect to you if you got the balls to actually admit that. But that's a lot of money for just DLC alone. That's like, paying for in-app purchases on like mobile games and such. That to me is just ridiculous. I can't see myself paying for scantily clad outfits for fictional characters $100. $100 to this day is still a lot of money. That's a whole nother game. That is a whole nother game. That is literally, you take that money, you get one new game or a bundle pack of that game, or some sort of an edition of a game that's coming out with the DLC and the season pass and all that stuff, or you can get 2 or maybe more games out of that. So much you could do other than getting a $99 DLC pack from Dead or Alive and Tecmo. I'm sorry, that was just ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. And I know Street Fighter V is doing the same thing, but they're doing it in a different way. Like, they're not charging people insanely amounts of money, but they are constantly coming out with game packs and different uniforms. And it's just, to me, man, that's just, it was, I don't like that type of business practice, that sales practice, if you will, but that was, to me, was just ridiculous. So, but not only that, but Dead or Alive never has a real good storyline at all. Like, the storylines are so convoluted. Nobody knows you love the characters itself, but you don't really understand what the hell's going on. And I do remember playing the original Dead or Alive from the 3DS, which kind of chronicled everything going up. So they did give you somewhat of a order to the storyline, but in all else, there are so many loopholes and open-ended things with that story. It doesn't hold on. You got a game like Mortal Kombat that not only has, even before the reboot somewhat of the series from 9, you could still easily follow what was going on from 1 to Armageddon, at least. And then they just rewritten everything in a really cool, in the coolest way that you could possibly do. And now it's better than ever. It's written better than ever. So, I don't see any other fighting game right now. I don't recall any other fighting game. And we're just at the beginning of the year, so we got a long way to go with fighting games coming out and, it being anticipating. We don't know what's coming out because, as we know, a new game can come out immediately and without anybody even knowing that it's coming out. And pretty much we what I'm saying? Like, we are ready to, play this thing because in about a month or two, because, what just happened? Marvel Ultimate Alliance, for instance, that's another one. We didn't know that it was even coming, let alone it's coming out this year. That to me is insane. Like, stuff like that. Jump Force, that came out of the blue only just a few months ago with, late into 2019, we found out it's coming. That thing's coming out next week. And by the way, I did get it, and I am reviewing it next week, so definitely stay tuned for that. I cannot wait for that game because I'm a huge otaku. So, no doubt, I'm very much looking forward to playing this game. If it's really any good good of an enjoyment as I like J-Star Victory, which some reason a lot of people didn't really dig that game. I dug it for what it was. I think as an anime fan, I would even do a video review, but it depends on the time that I have or whatnot. We'll see. But nonetheless, Mortal Kombat, I am looking forward to it coming in April. I believe April 23rd or to that extent, 23rd, 28th. But it's coming in April, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this. This is awesome. So, more news here. We got Microsoft is looking to add Xbox Live to the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch, iOS, and all other platforms, I believe, to really create the cross-platforming gameplay going on with certain games. So that is cool. The only thing I was hoping when I got this announcement of that, all right, we're getting Xbox Live, but are we getting that library too? Are we able to play their library in some form or fashion? No, unfortunately not. It's probably not the case. It seems like that is just going to be a way of interacting with other people while playing certain games that require play, that universal cross-play type of feature from, no matter what console that you have as such. So, it's all good. It's another way of just, all the communities coming together, which is great. It would have been really awesome to know that you'll be able to play, because believe it or not, I don't play Xbox anymore, but one of the best things about playing the Xbox wasn't their, AAA titles to me. It was some of their titles within Xbox Live, their arcade editions. They had some really cool games that you could play that nobody else had, like the Nintendo didn't have or PlayStation didn't have. There was some really cool stuff that I used to play just on that note alone. But other than that, I just wasn't really into all of the games. I don't even remember if I even enjoyed a game that much on the Xbox. I think I did have Devil May Cry at one part. I think Devil May Cry 4 at one point on there. Because sometimes I felt like I need to give more love to the Xbox and then the PlayStation and then the Wii at the time, which I had, or any of the games. I had to spread out my love to keep it going. And after a while, I was just like, why am I doing this? Why in the hell am I doing this? I barely play this game. I don't like the controller as much as I do on the PlayStation or any other systems that I have. I'm just going to trade it off. So that was my beef with that one. But their Xbox Live Arcade library was really the truth there, and the titles that they had on there was really cool too. So hopefully, maybe someday. So if you own Nintendo Online, however, they are adding more games as we speak. There are 2 new games that should be out as of right now. And that is Super Mario 2 and Kirby's Adventure. If you guys haven't had the chance to play that, it's on there right now. And hopefully, they do have some of the SP series as well. If you don't know what the SP series is, within the Nintendo Online service that they have, remember, I actually got a chance to check it out because it was a Christmas gift that somebody got me. My brother-in-law, but he got me as well as the PlayStation Plus for the year. Yeah, apparently it's like you got old games that you can play, like River City Ransom and all the games, Pro Wrestling, a lot of the classic Nintendo games that you got to play, which sadly they don't allow you to buy everything. There's some things that are on sale on the eShop for you to keep. I believe Donkey Kong Jr. is now available to keep, and Donkey Kong is out there for you to buy and to be yours. I wish they do more of that as well as let you rent it out if you just want to play it for a year or whatever. But within that is a cool little thing that I give them credit for, and that's the SP series. And the SP series, if it has the emblem on there, then what they do is that they give you the advantage to beat the game early or better. They like some of them, like say Zelda, they already put you at a point in Zelda where you can pretty much you got all of your gear, you have everything that you need, and you just want to get to Ganon and fight Ganon. You have that ability to do that. I played Ninja Gaiden and was at the very last board. I did beat the first boss. I never beat Ninja Gaiden, the original Ninja Gaiden on the NES. It's a very, very hard game to play, but if you go in the SP series, you're right at the very end where you're about to beat the game, and they put you right there. And what happens is basically they arm you with a lot of the different, sub weapons and stuff like that, and you got to fight the last boss. And I actually beat the second to last boss, thinking that I beat the game. No, damn it, there's another one. So you really got to know how to play that damn game in order to beat it. So it's a hard grind to beat that game, and I don't know if I have that much time to go into that grind to play it. The retro games are not for the weak at heart, man. I tell you that. So that's there, but Super Mario 2 is there, and I did beat Super Mario 2 at least once. So it'll be interesting to see if they'll do an SP version there and just put you right to Wart, where you end up fighting Toad Wart in there and be able to beat him there, because he's not really hard to beat at all. But it's really cool. And Kirby's Adventure I've never played, so I'll definitely go ahead and check that out as well. So I give Nintendo Online credit. It is only $20 a year. That is fairly good, and I've spoke about this many times. I'm not really a big fan of constantly putting in money for a lot of streaming networks, because there's too many damn streaming networks, and thank God I'm now starting to hear other people shout out about that as well on other platforms and other shows and TV shows or radio shows or podcasts or whatever. I'm really starting to hear that a lot more, and hopefully that will continue, because they need to try and do a new practice. But for this in particular, you got a company like Nintendo who has their own actual brand of things that you can absolutely not find anywhere else. So if you are a Nintendo fan, this I do say recommend you getting, because one, it has all the classics in there. Two, it's $20 a month, so if you weigh that down, it's very cheap compared to what you're paying on everything else. It's better to just pay the $20 now, because it's more to pay it on a monthly basis or 3-month basis, and you wind up spending a little bit more money than you are instead of just paying $20 set. Now, I do want to point out too that you could do the subscription, but you need to click off, if you're not planning to do this on a yearly basis, you need to click off a point in your options that you don't want to be automatically renewed. So you can do that as well. So you can turn it off and you can get it anytime you want and start it over again. So I do like that. It's pretty similar to what they're doing with DC Universe as well. So I do appreciate that they're doing that, as well. And you can totally get off and go back on. Same with WWE Network, stuff like that. I do appreciate that they do that, because it shows that they're not trying to really nickel and dime you every single damn time. So with that, I appreciate. So if you haven't checked it out, go out of your way and check it out. It's pretty cool for retro game fans. Last but not least, people, let's get to our review of Dragon Marked for Death, the latest action RPG scrolling adventure by Inti Creates for the Nintendo Switch. And I believe this is an exclusive, if I'm correct. I haven't seen this anywhere else, and I'll get Matt Papa on sometime soon, and we're going to talk about that more. But I played it quite a bit, and I'm still playing it. That should tell you one thing right there. It is a very, very fun gameplay. This is a great classic 2D gameplay, stage, and sprite designs. Very reminiscent of classic games such as NES version of Strider. If you guys remember the old Strider game from back then. See, people always think of the Sega version or the arcade version. My favorite version of Strider was the NES Strider, because it was an RPG action side-scrolling adventure game, much similar to what we're playing at Dragon Marked for Death, where you not only you go around and hack and slash everywhere, but you're collecting and leveling up, and you're becoming stronger, and you're collecting all these different items, and there's a big storyline, going along with it. So, definitely that. I mean, that's definitely a big pro for me as we're going on in here to talk about this. Games. I played a lot of Capcom games, and by the way, this particular game has been created by people who were behind such great games as a lot of the Mega Man series. I mean, if you go to their website, you can see it. They'll show you everybody who's been involved in it. A lot of them worked on Mega Man X and Mega Man games of sorts. So, these are highly professional, skilled people formerly working in Capcom games. So this game, if you're a Capcom fan of 2D side scrollers, you got to check this out, because this really pulls off the essence of those great games that we've played in the past like that, the X-Men side-scrolling series for the Super NES, Marvel Superheroes, which was not the fighting game, the actual side-scrolling adventure that you played back then. And a lot of it, depending on who you play, Bionic Commando. So they added all these really cool elements in there. I mean, just if you played old school like side-scrolling action games like this, you will pick up on some of the things that is reminiscent. If you play the Empress, she does a kind of a, she has her symbiotic dragon arm that stretches out on the tail and swings, which always reminds me of Bionic Commando when I play him. So there's a lot of cool things going on here. So other pros that I think that are so great about this game is that you got a choice to not only just pick one character, you get two characters for, or if you purchase the other versions, you get all four because they're two different. It's like Pokemon pretty much. You get two games of Mark for Death 1. Rather, you buy one with each of them with two different characters. But if you buy both, you actually get to play all four of them. So that's the situation with that. But you get, your choice of two different, characters, or maybe four if you buy both. Each with its own abilities that factor the way you play the certain stages in the game and how you battle enemies. So, I mean, that's the really cool part. They all play in the same. You could pick all four of them, but you're not playing the same game. You're actually playing it in a different type of way. So if I play with Empress, it's a, slice and dice hack and slash type of gameplay, but more offensively. And I can also swing around with the symbiotic dragon arm and swing like Bionic Commando. If I played with the warrior and who wields an axe, he's a little bit more of a slower, heavier character, stronger character, if you will. But he also is more a defensive character. So he has a sort of a shield type of situation going on as well. And it's pretty awesome. Each one of them gives you a really great feel. You can level up. The cool part is if you start playing with both characters, you can switch out each character from time to time, the one that benefits the other character. So if you get stuck on one, level, and one, pretty much basically what happens is you go to there's another game that this reminds me of too, Steam World Dig, which I've reviewed before. And Steam World Dig basically has you going around town, buying new items for your adventure, for your next, adventure going out there, and, collecting or upgrading your weaponry or stuff like that. So, and the cool part is when you get new weapons, they actually show the new design of, you get a new sword, and I used to always hate that back in the day, but this is happening now more than ever. Games like Disgaea does it now. It's like when you actually get a new weapon, it actually is a new weapon, a new designed weapon, and has its own stats and levels and such like that too. So same one here. They went into great detail for that, and I always appreciate games that do that because I used to hate when I would play a game back in the day, whether it was 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, and you're playing this game where there's some upgrades to your weapons, and they give you the name of the weapon. You get the upgrade of the weapon, but the weapon still looks the same. No, when you buy the actual weapon, it absolutely looks like a brand new weapon and looks badass. And I love the design of all of the, just so much great detail went into this game. Absolutely went into this game. So that was awesome in itself. So you got that, and actually the story is also really cool too. It's an easy to follow story with you as one of the members of the Dragon Blood clan who is looking for revenge on hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, and maybe Matt will be able to help me out, Medius Empire. So the clan decided to work with the astral dragon Outram, who gives you the powers to stop the evil empire. At the same time, if you notice it when you play along with the game, you notice that people who know the Dragon Clan fears them, and fears them immensely, despite the fact that they are helping them out from time to time. So I haven't played through, and nor even if I did, I wouldn't actually spoil it for anybody because it looks like it's leading into something very interesting, and I'm intrigued as to find out why does the actual town fear them so much, even though they're helping them out. So I haven't really gotten to that point whether they are cursed or not, or maybe I missed that part, but I'm very intrigued as to why they really, or when they will actually accept them more for what they're doing. So then you got the RPG leveling system, like I mentioned, which is, a great addition, and with the abilities to upgrade in the weapons and all that stuff. So you got that going on, and you definitely need to upgrade your weapons at all time and everything, your items, all that, because the levels go up, and you need to try to level up even more than those levels in order to go through and run through those stages easily, or as good as possible. If not, you could try out their online feature, which I'm normally not an online person, but I tried out the online multiplayer feature. I actually enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed being able to go through the online feature with that. I did have one slight little problem where we went into a level that was there, and it was all wireframe. I don't think it was meant to be that way, but otherwise, other times I actually, got through it with no problems, and it was really cool. I had a great time, playing with others, and, with the power in numbers plays a big factor here, because if you got a boss battle that is high level and you got other people with higher levels, it'll allow you to get through that, that raid a lot faster. So I really did appreciate that, and it does help. And not only that, when you play through the actual multiplayer mode, if you want to recruit a party, you can, they have a list of things that you can communicate with other players to say, I just want to get through this more quick. I need a empress. I need a warrior. I need, a sorceress. You got, you can request different things, and people can abide by that. And that was pretty cool. So I really did enjoy that part as well. The other really, really cool minor thing, but it means really cool a lot to me, is that the zoom in feature. The zoom in feature, which is your right analog stick, can zoom into the character, which is cool because then you're able to see the pixel art of the character in depth, and it looks really cool just seeing it in close up and you fighting the monsters close up. But then you can zoom on out to get a broader aspect of what you need to do, because sometimes you got enemies coming from different parts of the actual screen that you need to look out for. So there are times you can zoom in and times you can zoom out, and it's really cool. Gives it that SNK type of feel with it, like with games like Art of Fighting and such like that. So I really dug that aspect too. It's just one of the small things that really makes a great impact in a game as well. So I guess there really is nothing there's nothing really bad about this game. I think if I would give a con to this game, it will be that the fact that you're paying for two games with the same experience. And here's what I'll say. Now, I mentioned this before, that, you could rather play one version with two games, with the two characters, or you can purchase the other characters. Now, I'm a little bit iffy about that, because it's like, if I buy both games and both characters, I'm getting the same experiences. It's the Pokemon thing, and I never really dug that whole Pokemon thing before, where you're buying the game with the same experience. And it's like, all right, if I pick Eevee or Pikachu, I'm picking Pikachu. I can get an Eevee on the way. That was my deal. It was like, I can catch an Eevee on the way. That's no deal. I'm not paying for two different versions of the game where I'm playing the same game and there's nothing really too different about it. That was my only beef about that. And that, to me, like, the game is only $15, take note. It is worth every penny for the one game. But if the other game gave me a total different experience, then yeah, something has to be a big contrast for me. And that's just me. Some people will buy into it and go for it. More power to you. But I like to play things a little bit more, use a little bit more critical thinking as to how I buy a game and enjoy a game and play a game and what they provide. So if I would say, games like, I'll give you an example. Games like Bayonetta and Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, when Namco came out with that and Sega came out with that for the Switch. If you purchased Bayonetta 2, the second game, Bayonetta 1, you get for a lesser price. And they gave you a great deal with that. Whereas if you bought them two separately, they were the same price. But you do get two different experiences. So, I mean, like, that's your case. So I wound up doing a smarter deal, buying both of them for cheaper. Ultimate Ninja Storm is definitely a big example of this, because what happens is if you buy all 3 games, I believe you get it for like $30, whereas like if you brought them separately, you get one each for like $20. Do the math. Do the math there. It's like, and you're getting totally different experiences on each game. So I wish that they would have found a way to come up with a better, package where if you wanted the 2 other characters to their respective game, that they would give you a lower price for that. Because I feel like I'm not getting my just due just paying for 2 extra characters, no different experiences, no different anything. It's like I'm extracting the 2 characters, but here I am getting a whole new different, I'm just leaving out the extra money that I put in to get that game experience. And to me, that's my only beef. But with that said, it's not taking anything out of the experience of this game. The game is a lot of fun to play, whether you play with one or the other, or you mash them all together, buying both. It's a very fun game. I do highly recommend this. This is a 2D cult classic down the line. It really should be. If you're really just rated on the level of the 2D side-scrolling genre, Inti Creates really got it on mark. Those guys, KG Dafune, and a lot of those guys that worked on Mega Man, they know exactly what they're doing. This is their playing field, and they always hit a lot of home runs for the most part of that. I tell you what, I truly believe that if this was out in the late 90s, during the 32-bit era and the PlayStation era, such with games, or with consoles like Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, or Nintendo 64, in that era, this game probably would have gotten way more exposure and praise, and in some cases, this would probably be a legendary game. That's how good this game is, to be honest. I think this is a game that it's in celebration of everything that we loved about these type of games. But I'm telling you, these guys have done it so well that, one, they probably would have got a lot more money paying for it back then if they would have came out. They were able to come out with these ideas and concepts back then at that era. But KG Inafune and all of them were working for Capcom at the time, so that would never happen. But they would have made so much money off of these games and success out of these games, because that's how good this game is. I think if they would have came back out back then, we would have been looking at it now. Like, remember Mark for Death? Dragon Mark for Death. That game was awesome. I hope they bring it back out. I really hope they remaster it or bring it back out. That's how I feel about this game right now. Great character design, gameplay, easy to follow story. Makes Dragon Mark for Death a great and fun retro game experience. With that said, if I give it a grade, definitely solid A. Go out of your way to get it. It's $14.99 out on the Nintendo Switch right now. It is awesome. I am still playing it right now. I will be playing it probably until next week when Jump Force comes out. So we'll see. And then I'll be playing it off and on from that point. But great game to take on the road and whatnot, and really just get on it. It's as you gradually play through the game too, it gets easier, because you're leveling up more. It gets much easier to play. So when you're on the road, you could just pick up and play and have an easy fun with it as that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this edition of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start. Thank you so very much. I am fully back. And as rough as this week was with all the news and everything going on and just the craziness going on right now, I shouldn't be this really at all at everything that's going on, because it's been constant, but just constantly crazy news. But we will get to jump on it, including the talk about Vic Mignogna and the accusations and allegations and my thoughts on that as well. So we'll talk about that on Sunday as well. But that's not going to be the talk topic. That's going to be in the second segment of the show. But it's probably going to take over the entire segment of the show, pretty much, of that segment. But I do want to review a game that an anime that I absolutely recently fell in love with. And it was one of those animes that were on Netflix, and it looked interesting. I put it on my list, and I just decided to watch it. And I am kicking myself now as to why I haven't watched it earlier. As a fighting game fan, and as a gamer in general. That is High Score Girl, which is considered a Netflix original, and we're going to talk about that because if you're a gamer, especially if you're a fighting game fan, especially if you're a Street Fighter fan, and hell, even just fighting games period, because it celebrates all that, you definitely want to hear this episode coming up, just for a lot of reasons. But this episode, you're definitely going to want to hear it. This is going to be a definite icebreaker from what I'm going to be talking about from that point. So I was going to make the Vic Mignogna thing a talk topic, but I'm going to put that in the second segment on the show because I just need something to be a little bit lighter at that point, and it's going to be an interesting situation. So we're going to talk about all that and much more, and if any news comes up from there, we'll be adding that on as well, so stay tuned for that and much more. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Keep checking us out here on iTunes, on iHeartRadio, on Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, and of course TalkTimeLive.com, where you can hear all of our episodes and even our exclusive with some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games. So definitely keep the support. Thank you guys very much, and stay tuned for this and much, much more. But, by the way, I can tell you right now, next week, Battle Angel Alita is coming out. I will be reviewing that the week after, so I'm just putting it out there right now. That's absolutely going to happen, so stay tuned. Next week, I will be reviewing Jump Force as well, so stay tuned for that, and any news that comes from there as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it. On behalf of myself, well, before I say that, I need to really address this too. People, protect and save those you really care about, because you never know what's going on. We got these situations, these allegations coming up right now, and we really, really need to listen to people, listen to them thoroughly, listen to the situation, put it all together, and if need be, help them out as best they can. This is not an easy thing to even talk about. This is not an easy thing for them to talk about, the victims or whatever, to talk about if they ever been in a situation. But do your due diligence and be a good citizen, be a good family member, a friend, loved one, and really help these people out, because we're now starting to expose more and more people out here, and we need to clean up, no matter who it is and no matter how much you love them. That's just it right there. So please continue to protect and save the ones you love before it gets even worse or too late for that matter. So that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of myself, this is Dak Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. Take care and talk to you Sunday. This episode of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.